Have you watched a superhero wield a magical hammer and summon lightning from the skies? Or seen gods battle in golden cities? Worlds connected by a rainbow bridge? Or a monstrous wolf large enough to devour the sun? If you've seen Thor, the Avengers, the Northman, or even shows like Vikings or Ragnarok, then you've already glimpsed the powerful influence of Norse mythology. But did you know that behind these epic scenes and dramatic story arcs lie ancient tales whispered over 1,000 years ago? Stories told by Viking skalds in cold, windswept halls. Myths carved into stone, remembered in runes, passed from generation to generation across the harsh, beautiful lands of the North. Before superheroes soared across galaxies, before apocalyptic beasts stalked through end times, and long before Hollywood gave them capes and costumes, there were the Norse gods: Odin the Allfather, Thor, god of thunder, Loki, the Trickster, and a cosmos suspended within the mighty branches of Yggdrasil, the World Tree. These aren't just old stories, they are the ancient bones beneath the flesh of modern cinema. They shape the way we tell stories about heroes, villains, destiny, sacrifice, and even the end of the world. This is not just a history lesson. This is the untold story of how Norse mythology rose from frost-covered sagas to inspire the blockbusters we know and love today. Welcome to Norse Myths That Inspired Famous Movies.
No figure from Norse mythology has captured the imagination of Hollywood and the hearts of global audience quite like Thor. In the ancient Norse Eddas, Thor is far more than a superhero. He is the mighty god of thunder, a red-bearded warrior, feared by giants and worshipped by common folk for his strength and protection. He travels not by flight, but in a roaring chariot pulled by two enormous goats, Tangrisnir and Tangjoster, whose bones he can shatter and restore, resurrecting them by fire. His hammer Mjolnir is no mere weapon, it's a symbol of divine power, capable of leveling mountains, summoning storms, and warding off the chaos of the world. It is so heavy that only Thor can lift it, and it always returns to his hand after being thrown. In mythology, it's used not only in battle but also in sacred rituals, including blessings at weddings and births. Thor is a protector of gods and humans alike, constantly clashing with the Jotnar, giants that represent primordial chaos. His temperament is fierce, his loyalty unquestionable, and his role in the pantheon pivotal. He is the shield between order and destruction. Marvel Studios reimagined Thor for the modern age, casting him as a cosmic superhero with a golden heart, interplanetary reach, and a flowing blonde mane. Audiences met a Thor who jokes, loves, stumbles, and grows. Yet despite the futuristic armor and witty dialogue, the mythic bones of the character remain. Asgard's shining spires, Odin the All-Father, the Rainbow Bridge Bifrost, and even the volatile presence of Loki, Thor's adoptive brother. Marvel's version softens some edges. Gone are the bloody sacrifices and the grittier realism of the Viking worldview, but the essence lingers. From the frost-covered giants of Jotunheim to the coming doom of Ragnarok, the mythological roots run deep. Thor may have become a superhero on screen, but at his core, he is still the stormbringer of ancient myth. A symbol of might, courage, and sacrifice. A god who even in the 21st century refuses to be forgotten. Few figures in Norse mythology are as complex, contradictory, or captivating as Loki. And few have made the leap from ancient tale to modern stardom so effortlessly. In the sagas, Loki is not a simple villain. He is a shapeshifter, a mischief maker, a god of fire and deception, born not of Asgard but of the giants, yet allowed to live among the gods of the Aesir. His role is slippery. One moment, he's helping Thor recover his stolen hammer. The next, he's orchestrating the death of the beloved god Baldur, setting into motion the end of the world. Loki's trickery is legendary. He turns into a salmon to escape capture, disguises himself as a mare and gives birth to Sleipnir, Odin's eight-legged horse, and crafts cunning plans that backfire on both gods and monsters alike. He is the father of 3 terrifying children. Hel, the cold and distant goddess of the underworld. Jörmungandr, the enormous serpent who encircles the world. And Fenrir, the monstrous wolf fated to devour Odin during Ragnarok. Yet Loki isn't evil in the way modern audiences expect. He is chaos itself, unpredictable, necessary, and deeply intertwined with the fate of the cosmos. The gods rely on him as often as they fear him. He represents the thin line between order and destruction, friend and foe, hero and monster. Marvel Studios reimagined this trickster god for a new generation, casting Tom Hiddleston as a charming, tortured anti-hero. Their Loki is burdened with glorious purpose, his silver tongue weaving tales of betrayal, brotherhood, and redemption. Audiences embraced him, not because he was perfect, but because he was broken, brilliant, and deeply human. And yet, beneath the quips and smirks lies the original Loki, a fireborn force who defies destiny and dares to reshape the cosmos. The cinematic Loki may hesitate, love, even weep, but the mythological Loki burns bridges, breaks bonds, and heralds the apocalypse. His legacy is one of duality, god and outcast, villain and savior, liar and brother. In every twist of his story, we see a reflection of ourselves, our contradictions, our desires, our struggle between light and shadow. Loki is more than a character. He is the question that haunts every myth. What happens when chaos is not destroyed, but embraced? In the vast ancient tapestry of Norse mythology, all things are connected by a single immense living entity, Yggdrasil, the world tree. This great ash tree is more than myth. It's the spine of the cosmos, with roots that stretch into the deepest shadows and branches that touch the highest heavens. Every world, every creature, every god and mortal exists somewhere along its limbs. The 9 realms it connects are not just locations, they are dimensions of reality, each symbolizing a force of nature, morality, or fate. There is Asgard, the realm of the Aesir gods, shining and noble. Midgard, the world of humans suspended between divine forces. Niflheim, a land of ice and eternal cold. Muspelheim, a burning chaos ruled by fire giants. Helheim, the underworld, where souls of the unheroic dead linger. Jotunheim, realm of the giants, wild, ancient, and always watching. Vanaheim, home of the mysterious Vanir gods. Alfheim, where the light elves dwell. And Svartalfheim, the shadowed domain of dwarves and deep earth forges. Together these realms create a universe in constant tension. Fire versus ice, chaos versus order, life versus the inevitability of death. Modern cinema, particularly the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has breathed new life into this ancient map. In Thor, the Dark World, audiences glimpse the dark stone caverns of Svartalfheim. In Avengers Infinity War, the forge of Nidavellir, deep within the World Tree's roots, glows with cosmic heat. Asgard's golden halls rise like a mythic dream. Hell is reimagined as a gothic underworld ruled by a fierce goddess. And everywhere, portals and bridges evoke the mystical connections Yggdrasil once represented to the Norse mind. But even outside of Marvel, the 9 realms have quietly shaped how we visualize fantasy worlds, from multiverse storylines to realms of the dead, from flaming hellscapes to icy wastelands. These aren't just fantasy set pieces, they are ancient metaphors, reflections of how early Norse people saw the universe, vast, dangerous, interconnected, and bound by fate. Yggdrasil stands not just as a tree but as a living myth, reminding us that all things are connected, that every action ripples across realms, and that even in the modern world, the ancient branches of story still hold us in their sway. In most mythologies, The end of the world is feared, resisted, avoided, but in Norse mythology the end, Ragnarok, is inevitable, and it is not to be stopped. It is to be faced. Ragnarok is not a single moment, but a cascade of doom. It begins with omens, the Fimbul winter, a great and bitter cold, that lasts 3 years without summer. Brothers turn on brothers, morality collapses. The wolves that chase the sun and moon finally catch their prey, plunging the world into darkness. And then, the gods march to war. Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, breaks free from his bindings and devours Odin, the Allfather. Jörmungandr, the world serpent, rises from the ocean, spewing venom that darkens the skies. Thor slays the serpent, but takes only 9 steps before succumbing to its poison. Loki returns, leading the armies of chaos, only to fall in battle alongside Heimdall. Surtur, the fire giant from Muspelheim, sets the world ablaze with his flaming sword, reducing all of existence to ash. It is total annihilation, the death of gods, the end of time. And yet, from this destruction, something stirs. A new earth rises from the sea, green, untouched. Survivors emerge, a few gods, 2 humans hidden in Yggdrasil's roots, animals and spirits. The sun is reborn through her daughter. The cycle begins again. This apocalyptic vision is not just about doom, it's about renewal. In Norse belief, destruction is part of the cosmic rhythm. Even gods must fall for new life to flourish. Ragnarok is both a tragedy and a promise. Marvel's Thor Ragnarok taps into this myth with its own twist, infusing humor, cosmic, adventure and psychedelic visuals. But beneath the jokes and spectacle, the heart of the myth pulses. Asgard falls, fire consumes, and the survivors set sail toward a new destiny. The cycle is complete. In an age of endless sequels and cinematic universes, the message of Ragnarok is surprisingly grounding. Even the mighty must fall. But from ruin, something new always grows. It reminds us that endings are not failures. They are necessary fires from which the future rises. While Marvel may dominate the pop culture spotlight, Norse mythology has quietly and powerfully woven itself into the fabric of countless other films, franchises, and storytelling mediums. Its echoes resound far beyond Asgard's gates. Take The Northman, 2022, for example, a cinematic fever dream rooted deeply in Viking spirituality and Norse ritual. The film doesn't just tell a tale of revenge, it immerses viewers in the raw, hallucinatory world of ancient belief. Berserker warriors become beasts in battle, guided by shamanic visions. The Norse gods and fates are not distant ideas, but immediate forces, shaping every decision with supernatural weight. From Odin's ravens to the Tree of Kings, the Northman bleeds with authentic mythic texture. Earlier films like Beowulf and The 13th Warrior draw from the same heroic traditions. Though technically Anglo-Saxon in origin, Beowulf shares deep roots with Norse myth. The slaying of monsters, the code of honor, and the struggle against an inevitable fate. The 13th Warrior, inspired by Michael Crichton's Eaters of the Dead, blends history and myth to portray Norsemen not just as warriors, but as keepers of a supernatural legacy. Their rituals, seers, and omens are portrayed as integral to their lives, bridging the world of men and gods. Even the high fantasy of The Lord of the Rings owes a great debt to Norse cosmology. J.R.R. Tolkien, a scholar of Old Norse, infused his world with elements that echo the Eddas: dwarves who live in mountains and forge great artifacts, elves who dwell in shining lands beyond mortal reach, and ancient runes imbued with power. Gandalf himself bears resemblance to Odin, wise, wandering, staff-wielding, and ever watching the turning of fate. And the influence doesn't stop at cinema. In the realm of interactive storytelling, video games like God of War and Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice plunge players into deeply researched, emotionally resonant interpretations of Norse belief systems. God of War reimagines the pantheon through the eyes of Kratos and his son, exploring fate, family, and the cyclical nature of power. Hellblade offers a darker psychological journey through Helheim, blending mental health narratives with mythic landscapes, runes, and gods. Across these stories, one truth stands clear. Norse mythology is not just a relic of the past. It is a living mythos, adaptable, powerful, and enduring. Whether wrapped in swords and sorcery or reshaped through science fiction, its core themes persist. The tension between destiny and choice, the fallibility of gods, the bravery of mortals, and the belief that even in the darkest cold, new life can emerge. These aren't just old stories. They are mirrors of the human experience, timeless, mythic, and ever-evolving. Beyond the shimmering halls of Asgard and the heroism of thunder gods lies something far older and far more terrifying. Norse mythology doesn't just tell tales of valor, it whispers of decay, madness, and death. It is a mythology where horror is not the exception, but the rule. Among its most chilling figures are the Draugr, undead warriors risen from the grave, cursed to guard treasure, tombs, and ancient grudges. These bloated, rotting revenants are not mindless zombies, but cunning and cruel, possessing immense strength and sorcerous powers. Their presence has seeped into modern media, from the frost-covered catacombs of Skyrim to countless video games and horror-themed series. Draugr have become the Nordic face of The Walking Dead. Then there's Fenrir, the monstrous wolf destined to devour Odin during Ragnarok. More than a beast, he is a symbol of chaos, unbound. This primal terror has echoed into films like The Ritual, 2017, where an ancient Norse deity, possibly inspired by Jotun or beast gods, lurks in the haunted Scandinavian woods. In that film, fear doesn't come from jump scares, but from the creeping realization that old gods still walk among the trees demanding sacrifice and obedience. These are not gods of mercy, but of blood and bone. The Norse underworld Hel, ruled by the half-dead goddess of the same name, offers yet another grotesque vision. It is not a fiery pit, but a bleak, cold realm, silent, shadowed, and final. The souls who dwell there do not wail, they wait. And the imagery of Hel, of icy despair and gods with skeletal faces, has deeply influenced the aesthetics of horror cinema, both overtly and subtly. And then there are the rituals. Norse sagas speak of blood sacrifices, seers driven mad by prophecy, and nightmarish visions of the end times. The vulva, seeresses, foretell doom so terrifying even the gods tremble. The dead are never truly gone, their will lingers and their curses fester. Even the gods are not saviors. They lie, deceive, and destroy in the name of fate. The divine in Norse myth is not comforting, it is cold, fatalistic, and alien. Films like Midsommar, while not directly Norse, channel the spirit of these ancient rites. They reflect the unease that comes from confronting forgotten traditions, sacred violence, and the terrifying power of belief passed down unbroken. In Norse mythology, horror isn't just found in monsters, it's woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. A serpent encircles the world, waiting to strike. A wolf breaks his chains with each passing day. The world tree trembles. The gods know their doom and march toward it anyway. In these dark tales, we find more than fright. We find the shadows of our own fears, of death, of destiny, of powers we cannot comprehend. The Norse myths don't promise salvation, but they do promise truth, and in that truth, horror lives. Why do we return to these myths, time and again, across centuries, continents, and now cinema screens? Why do stories from windswept fjords and icy halls still echo in our imaginations? Perhaps it's because Norse mythology does something few other traditions dare. It lets its gods bleed. Unlike the untouchable, all-powerful deities of many pantheons, the Norse gods are strikingly mortal. Thor may wield thunder, but he is often outwitted. Odin, the All-Father, trades his eye for wisdom, but cannot prevent his own end. Even Baldur, the shining god of beauty, falls not to a mighty foe, but to a sprig of mistletoe, born of prophecy and betrayal. These are not perfect beings who live above the fray. They love fiercely. They argue. They make grave mistakes. They walk into doom not with ignorance but with eyes wide open. Their deaths are written in fate, and still they fight. That is deeply human. Their stories speak not of utopia, but of endurance, of how even the divine must face loss, of how order can crumble and still be rebuilt. The world ends, yes, but it is born again. A new sun rises over new green earth. Two humans emerge from the roots of Yggdrasil. Life, no matter the darkness, finds a way to begin again. And maybe that's why we still listen. In an age of superhero spectacles, of CGI marvels and intergalactic threats, Norse mythology remains grounded. It reminds us that strength is not about invincibility. It's about carrying on when you know you'll lose. That chaos isn't the enemy. It's the forge from which new life is shaped, that even gods are afraid, and still stand. Whether we realize it or not, these myths are woven into the stories we love, into the anti-heroes we root for, into the broken worlds we watch rise again, into every tale where fate looms and courage answers. So when the thunder cracks across the screen or a lone figure walks into battle knowing they won't return, we're not just watching a movie. We're hearing the echo of something ancient, something frostborn and fireforged. We're hearing the voice of the Old North, whispering still. From the icy breath of northern winds to the glowing pulse of cinema screens, Norse mythology has journeyed across centuries, unchanged in spirit, even as its form evolves. These myths were once whispered around firelit halls, etched into stone with trembling hands, passed from skald to warrior, from mother to child. Now they explode in color and sound, reimagined by directors, reborn in pixels, retold in every thunderous swing of a hammer or tear of a trickster, but the heart remains. In Thor's storm we hear the echo of Mjolnir crashing against ancient giants. In Loki's smirk we see the fire of mischief that once unraveled worlds. In the end of Asgard and the promise of its return, we find the eternal cycle of endings and beginnings that shaped the Norse soul. These are not just stories. They are mirrors. They reflect our fear of chaos and our defiance of it, our longing for meaning and our dance with fate. They remind us that gods can fall, monsters can rise, and yet, somehow, hope survives. So as the credits roll and the screen fades to black, know this: the sagas are not over. They live in us, in every story we tell, in every myth we reforge. The gods of the North walk with us still, through storm and shadow, battle and rebirth. And as long as storytellers speak and dreamers dream, the myths carved in frost will never fade. They will thunder on.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.